cancer, so I'm not sitting.
You know, I could also move down.
That's okay. We're healthy over here if you want to sit over here. Not going to work. That's what I tell. Morning, Nancy.
How are you?
Agenda, I'm doing well.
I have
Got
one.
it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Other synergies. That's the.
Yeah, that's what we actually.
Obviously.
This is from the one before. So this is the main summary.
Right, good morning, everyone. We're calling our executive committee meeting to order at 10 a.m. I want to welcome all of you to the meeting, and we're going to hold off on the roll call just to buy a little bit more time, but in the interest, out of respect for everyone's availability, we're going to begin the meeting process notes. So the California Workforce Development Board Executive Committee is meeting here in Sacramento. A link to our meeting agenda, board packet information can be found on the CWDB webpage at cwdb.ca.gov under State Board Meetings and Archives. Public comment is now open and will be heard after each agenda item and again prior to adjournment. Public comments will be accepted via email at boardpubliccomment@cwdb.ca.gov or by being recognized by myself. We can allow just 2 minutes for each comment per subject, so please make them concise. All public comments received by email will be read aloud during the public comment periods noted on the agenda and will be included in the meeting minutes as part of the public record. So our meeting dates for 2025, these are based on the survey results, which we'll get to in a moment. Provides the following dates, which are also in the letter that Kind Pereira, our executive director, sent to all board members on December 6th of last year. Our executive committee meetings are today, February 12th is the first one, May 14th, August 13th. Our full board meetings are March 26th and June 25th. So we will, huh? Oh, and September 24th. And so, should we start with the updates while we wait for the roll call, wait for the action item? Just to move things forward. So, again, just out of interest of everyone's time, we're gonna get going with the updates and discussion. And we'll begin with the response to LA fires, called LA Rises. Kind of will share that.
Thank you, Angelo. As many of you know, the Palisades and Eaton fires are now moving into phase 1 and have actually begun toxic remediation. That is being provided in phases 1 and 2. Phase 1 is provided by the US EPA, phase 2 by the Army Corps of Engineers. As these efforts are being done through these federal agencies, there are questions currently on the ground related to prevailing wage and how they're going to hire certain folks to do that work. We are working through that and discussing directly with the Army Corps on how to induce those actions, but also maintain our level of wages and pay. The disaster recovery centers are being staffed currently by EDD. Thank you very much, Nancy. And those resources are in the areas as well. 20 million of workforce development funding, 10 million from DOL and 10 million from the governor's discretionary 25% bucket have been provided to the Los Angeles region for recovery efforts related to workforce displacement. And a request from the governor has been to maintain presence in LA and to be present on the bill in response. Is our update from LA, right?
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for Kaina from our executive committee members on this item? And then, Emily, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay.
Oh, is it related to the item of the motion? Yes, we do have one public comment.
If you can, please come up and introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Farouk and members of the board. My name is Rachel Shakluna. I am here on behalf of the 19 community colleges of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium. LARC is LARC is avid to play a supporting role in the LA Rise initiative through education, training, upskilling programs for the workforce that will be needed to rebuild the areas of LA affected by the 2025 wildfires. Our colleges are equipped with high-quality faculty and staff. Several of the LARC priority focus areas overlap with recovery needs in the affected LA regions, including in energy, construction and utilities, advanced transportation and logistics, healthcare, retail, tourism, and hospitality. Our goal is to ensure Angelenos have the best opportunities to be prepared and help rebuild their communities and skills they obtain from our workforce development programs, while simultaneously providing themselves and their families with a livable and stable income. We look forward to working with the board and the LA Rise program to partner in this endeavor. Thank you.
Staff can follow up with you, but I appreciate your coming here and sharing this.
Thank you so much.
So now we have a forum, and so I'm going to turn it over to Ben to do roll call for our attendance.
We'll begin with Secretary Stuart Knox, designee Abby Snee, Director Nancy Clarius, Executive Director
Here.
Jamil Dada. Yep. Diane Factor is not. Angelo is here. Stephen Levy, Robert Redlow, no. Mr. Jeremy Smith. That is one between 6. That is 6 and a 4.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you again, all of you, for being here. We have an action item, the consideration of approval of October 9th Executive Committee meeting summary. For the only item we will be voting to approve this. If there's any, first of all, if there's any comments or questions from the committee before the vote. Emily, do we have any public comments related to this?
No.
Nobody here physically present? Okay, we can entertain a motion.
We'll move approval.
Jamil motions to approve. Do we have a second?
Sure.
Kind of seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, actually, we do need to do a roll
Or do we
call.
not, do we do?
If, I thought that
Yeah.
we need to do it.
We have to do a roll call vote. I'm sorry. It should be quick.
We can begin. Nancy Ferry.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
President. Yes.
Yes,
And finally. Yes. 6.
motion carries unanimously with no abstentions and no nays. Thank you, Ben. Our next agenda item is survey results and our organization for 2025. And Brooke will lead us in reviewing the results of the survey that was taken by the board late last year and discuss our meeting schedule this year. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you. Good morning, Executive Committee members and members of the public. My name is Brooke Barnum Roberts, and I'm Chief Legal Counsel for the California Workforce Development Board. I'm going to take a few minutes to summarize the survey results from our survey to board members in December. And I just want to start off by thanking everyone for participating in the survey. We value your time and appreciate the thought that you put into responding to it. We had 22 members respond, so a pretty good turnout when it came to results. And they responded to questions about interest in committee or working group work, meetings in 2025, and also how we can better ensure that board member attendance and participation is robust. And I'm going to take a few minutes to go over the survey results, keeping it high level. If you'd like me to go into more detail, just let me know. First off, 20 of 22 members that responded are interested in participating in committee or working group work on a quarterly or monthly basis. So we found that encouraging, and we're going to move forward with some working group work in 2025. A quorum of members will commit to attending at least 3 full board member meetings in 2025. We didn't have enough to host 4, so we went forward with 3 full board meetings, and you should have those dates. You should also have calendar reminders. If you don't, let us know. We'll make sure we get those to you. And Wednesday was the top day of the week for meetings by far compared to the other options, with 8 members responding they prefer that day over the next top days, which were Friday and Tuesday, with only 3 members preferring those days. In person at the current 3 satellite locations, which is how we've been doing things, was also the top mode of hosting meetings, with 11 in favor. And then just to mention a couple of comments that stood out regarding how to ensure board member attendance and participation. There were 5 main themes. One of those was more substance and interaction at meetings. And so to that end, we're going to try to provide more robust agendas in our meetings. And we think hosting 3 rather than 4 full board meetings per year should do that. Second, more access. Some members asked about, could we do teleconferencing? Could we look into other locations? Unfortunately, because this is a decision-making board, the teleconferencing piece is hard given the current law. But when that sunsets, if anything changes, we'll look into it. And as far as other locations, we'll also look into that as new board members are seated in different regions. The next theme was more reminders. So that's done. You should have calendar reminders. And if you need more, if you need a personal phone call, let us know. I'm happy to call you. Take it old school, right? Like when you sit in the hotel, you needed the wake up call. So let me know if you need a wake up call. The 4th theme was more education orientation. And to that end, we're working on an expectations memo for board members and also a new member orientation guide that'll have all the resources at your fingertips. That's almost finalized, and we just want to wait till we have a little bit more in terms of jobs first and the master plan before we get that out to the members. And finally, there was an ask for more enforcement of attendance expectations. And to that end, we're going to just enforce the bylaws, which is that we expect members to come to meetings. Sometimes you'll miss a meeting, but if you do miss 3 in a row, maybe this isn't the right board for you to serve on. So that's pretty much it. And then just one last remark about CWDB in 2025. I know we're all aware there's a new federal administration. We have not experienced changes or effects to our work at this point based on actions by the new federal administration. We remain confident in our ability to continue serving Californians in workforce development, and we'll just be sure to keep this board apprised of any changes as things unfold. Any questions from the board on this topic? Hearing no questions, Angela, do you want to ask about any public comment?
Yes, one question I have is, when you were saying that with the federal, that we haven't been affected by the freeze. It seems like the DOGE committee is like rotating among different agencies and they haven't made it to labor yet. Officially, I know things are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I know maybe it's purely speculative, but is there anything we're anticipating that once the labor agency becomes the focus, what kind of downstream impacts, in terms of the potential range of scenarios that could impact us?
I mean, we're definitely always doing planning and thinking about a worst case scenario, but for now, federal courts have prohibited federal agencies from pausing or terminating payment of federal financial assistance. Unless there's very narrow grounds, like if there's authorization by applicable statutes and so forth. So right now, we've had no payment issues. I don't believe EDD or DIR has either. So right now, it's business as usual. Did you want to add to that kind of?
Oh, I think you covered it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. Emily, do you have any public comments? Okay. And this is just informational. So we will proceed now to California Jobs First. Kaina will share an update.
So I was hoping that this update would be a little bit more official in nature, but unfortunately that has not come to pass. And so what I'm going to brief us on today is really what we're doing at the workforce board level, staff level, to engage or to prepare to engage on the implementation of Jobs First as an initiative going forward. And so we've been working with internal teams in our staff, the field team, which is mainly directed for HRTP type assistance. And then also our statewide partnerships team, which has been working on, for example, the SB 150 work with CalSTA and Caltrans on the IIJA monies related to workforce development. And so those two teams in particular are the ones that were maturing their work into both these roles, really the California Jobs First implementation and the master plan for career education. And so in the coming months, those working groups that were just discussed by Brooke will start forming, and we'll be asking for some membership participation, at least in terms of garnering additional two-way communication from industry participants related to the supply and demand questions around those sectors. And so I expect it to be released very soon, and then we'll have probably a little bit more robust conversation and dialogue in the full board meeting in March. And our hope is that we can deputize some of our membership to encourage that two-way communication on the needs of industries in those sectors that have been identified and within the regions of the state. So that way we can provide additional information to the decision-making board, which is the California Jobs First Council, on where to direct resources to make the most impact. And so right now, given that it's not announced, we're really trying to educate our staff on what the expectations would be, how to move forward in those communications, provide additional training for, the varying methods of communication, considering, the business folk and the workforce folk generally have different language that they use talking about similar things. And so trying to build up that muscle within our organization to ensure successful release of these initiatives is what we're doing now. But yeah, hopefully in March, when this is officially announced as running, we will be able to give a little bit more understanding of how we're going to break down the various sector strategies, what the working groups will look like, and then what participation membership.
It's great. Thank you for that update. I know our board is very eager to provide more industry engagement, which is very fundamental to the federal workforce system. Any comments or questions from the board?
Sounds good.
Public comments?
No public comment.
Okay. Now we will transition to the concept of establishing advisory groups, as Brooke mentioned. From the survey results, we have 4 groups: the eligible training provider list, youth workforce, sectors aligned with California Jobs First, and structure of the executive committee. Nancy, you'll speak out on the eligible training provider.
Sure. So,
How's it online too?
Oh,
yeah, no, he texted me that he's online. Hav, do you want to? I'm looking at the screen, but
there he is.
I'm-
You're on mute, Javier.
Yeah, can we pin him so we can see him, Russ?
There we go.
Wonderful, thanks.
There it is.
Okay. Okay, I'll do the report up then.
or I can, whatever you want.
Okay, well, I can start. Well, the employment training provider list is a requirement under WIOA, in which we have, we being EDD, Nancy specifically has received policy recommendations on ETPL. So has the labor agency from the California Workforce Association. We've also received policy recommendations from our community college stakeholders. But ETPL is something we view in a larger context. There is something, as you all know, the master plan for career technical education is in development. One of the goals there is to align workforce and higher education. ETPL is one policy lever, a small one, but an important one. So any policy recommendations need to be deliberated in that context. For that purpose, EDD and the California Workforce Development Board and the labor agency will be convening a work group that would serve an advisory role to the state board. We will look towards the California Workforce Association for 3 members to participate in that work group. We will reach out to the community colleges, request 2 representatives, and we'll also request a representative from adult education, the community-based organization, and labor, who are all stakeholders in being listed as a quality training provider, which is intended to provide access to workers that come into the AJCC and enrolled into WIOA. That, in a nutshell, is what we bring forward. I think our timeline is where we're looking to convening in mid-March and probably going on for 3 to 4 months from there to that's it in a nutshell. Anybody, Kaina, Abby, Nancy, anything to add?
We'll save you, Hav. We'll save you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just add that's in a nutshell, obviously. But I would just add that, as Javier mentioned, and I'm sure many others on the board have received different policy recommendations. And we're just trying to coordinate that to make sure that everybody's on the same page, understanding not everybody's going to like everything. That is life. I don't love my life all the time, every single aspect of it, right? I love EDD though. It's my favorite part. And so, we're just trying to coordinate everyone to make sure that we can get some general and some specific recommendations for how to move forward. And, the work group is made up of, as Hav mentioned, that was sort of the initial thoughts that we had on what the work group should look like. We're happy to consider a different makeup if that's what is agreed upon, but it sounds like that's going to be a good start, and we just really want to get the ball rolling and get things moving so we can come up with some solid policy recommendations for the ETPL.
Thank you for your leadership, Director Perez, and thank you, Javier, for that update. Any comments or questions, George?
I would just say, based on the timing, it is our goal to make whatever deliberative actions resulted from this working group present and publicly available on the June meeting.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Any other comments or questions? No public comments. Abby, youth workforce.
It's gonna pass.
Okay, no, it's okay. We'll share that at the full board meeting. Sectors aligned with California Jobs First, kind of.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, because we have not been able to officially roll into the sector working groups work yet, it would be presumptive of me to illustrate what those working groups would be at this point, but also knowing that we have this plane, it is relatively ready to land. There will be at minimum 4 sector working groups that are tied directly to the strategies outlined in California Jobs First. Additionally, other working groups, one of which is currently in existence to a certain degree, which is the Workforce for a Healthy California, could also be one that is embedded into this effort. We're really trying to see the landscape of task forces and standing operations within that sector work to not duplicate and to not replicate existing work, especially in the Workforce for a Healthy California initiative sense, which has been ongoing for a number of years. But really bringing those more into the fold under that umbrella that is Jobs First. And so more to come, obviously, in the March meeting. And unfortunately, can't go much further than I just did.
We will respect that. Any comments or questions for kind of knowing that there's some limitations that we're going to discuss? Our next is structure of the executive committee, Brooke.
I think the vision, we just wanted to share with this group, the vision for the executive committee moving forward, given this idea that these working groups will play an important role. And the vision is that the board members that lead these working groups would then be seated on the executive committee in order to just make reporting out more clean and easy, right? So we wanted to put that in front of you all, and we'll put it in front of the full board. If everyone agrees, then we can look at kind of reseating the executive committee if needed, according to who heads up the working groups.
Sounds good. And
Just a question, all of the board members or just the chairs of the task working groups?
The chairs of the working groups, yeah. And obviously, our executive committee has some required members according to the bylaw, so that wouldn't change. We'd still be in accordance.
Good structure.
any other comments or questions for Brooke? Emily?
No public comment.
Okay, now we'll have, it's been a ongoing agenda item, the revised draft resolution standards for infrastructure related funds. I'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Well, thank you. Bruce and Diane and I, and Fabrizio, we have not had a chance to come together to finish our effort on this. So that's the report. Is the pathway that it comes back here first and then goes to the full board, or would we just bring it to the full board?
I think it might make sense for us to deliberate first and ensure that we can, get it in the eyes of LWDA, our parent organization, and before going to the full board. But yeah, happy to work with you and our staff to work with you on getting that landed.
I'll bring that back to the three of them, and just let them know that that's the pathway, so we're aware and get to work.
Great, thank you. Sure.
Sounds good. Thank you for all your efforts. I know it's been a long effort. Do we have any comments?
No public comment.
There's nothing to respond to on that. Other business? Does anybody have any other business that they want to share? Okay, for general public comments, this portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to address the committee on items of interest within the jurisdiction of the committee. Comments are limited to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. Pursuant to the Bagley-Keene Act, the committee shall take no discussion or action other than a referral on any issue brought forth here. Emily, do we have any?
No public comment.
Like, I could change my mind.
You could.
Yeah.
Come on, Carlos. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Carlos Lopez with Center for Employment Training. Our headquarters are in San Jose. We have 11 training centers in California. The announcement essentially is that Hermelinda Sapian is retired. Many of you have known her, worked with her for 57 years, again, 57 years. And so this was her last year. And so our program is going through a transition. We have a new leader called Ruben Solario. His name is Ruben Solario. He's the president and a new executive team. So I know he's looking forward to meeting some of you when you're available and talk about some of the initiatives that we have at CET and getting to know him and, work together in partnership. So I'm glad to be here, spend a few years, see a few friendly faces, many actually. I'm glad to be here and thank you for this moment.
Thank you for sharing those updates. So at this moment, we will now adjourn the meeting.
Oh, wait,
So,
She was raising her hand.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
Question for Carlos?
So I thought we can't discuss or because it's
Yeah.
not on the agenda, we can only refer.
We can refer.
So you can speak to
items.
him all after the meeting ends, but because it's not agendized, we can't discuss it. We can only refer.
Just wanted to know, they're celebrating her.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
Fine.
talk. Okay, so we will adjourn the meeting at 10:26 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fair, but.